A very good morning to you and welcome back to K24 this morning. Time for us to have some serious discussions about money and finance. And it is Tuesday, and that's exactly what we do here. Now, today, I want to focus on the creative arts business. Are you a creative artist? Are you planning to get into the business? Especially after the KCPE, I know a lot of people right now are going to be changing their focus and shifts according to what you got. But the discussion here is basically to forge that way forward. And that is why I'm joined by Eric Musyoka, a producer. How are you doing, Eric? It's been forever since we last met. Buda umeanza, hautaki kugrow fat, hautaki kugrow taller, maintain tu pale pale.
Hapo.
Fantastic stuff.
Kamba jeans.
All right. Kamba jeans. How comes mimi niko nazo lakini kuna venye kidogo zinanijenga.
Hazijapimwa poa zake.
Sasa we'll talk about that in a minute. Of course, we have Abigail Arunga as well. Abigail, who's an author. How are you doing? You've told me that you've written 2 books. One is Akelo, and then the other one is
A Side of Ranch, which I don't tell my parents about, so you can just keep that story moving.
Why is it? Because your parents are watching?
So, yeah, great morning, right? Great weather we're having.
Yeah. So Akelo is basically your name.
Yes.
All right, nice. We'll talk about the book in a second.
Right.
And then George Kagwe, comedian, noisemaker. That's what I describe you as. Yeah, and there we have it. Yeah. George, how have you been?
Salama sana.
Karibu tena sana.
Asante.
I absolutely like what you're doing.
Thank you.
My all the ladies I've ever dated, they're into your comedy, and sometimes inanisumbuanga.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Nakupatia points.
Not necessarily. Muskianga ni kama yani ni saa zingine nichukue tu hiyo nini waselo watch video zako niwaambie tu weka simu chini. Weka hiyo simu chini.
Nakatia nachoma.
No, not really, but nice to have you as well.
Thank you so much.
People think that everyone who's in the creative arts industry has an easy job because, hey, it's just like for you, music production. So unaingia tu kwa studio, cheza piano kidogo, weka kabit pale hivyo kidogo, wambalambezi za hit. But is it as easy as it sounds?
Well, it's not as easy as it sounds. I mean, there's a lot of thinking that goes into it. There's a lot of strategy. There's a lot of planning that goes into it. I don't believe there's anything that happens randomly.
Right.
So you have to be in the right environment, the right zone, have the right team, and have the right mission and strategy for it.
But for you, you've been doing it forever. Like Tangu times Genge when Genge was Genge to the time that, right now we have this so-called Genge tone.
Yeah.
Does it get easier as you go by? Ama every single time you're doing music, it's a challenge?
It's just a different challenge. Every phase of the business and the climate of business has its own set of challenges. So it's just how do you overcome those challenges? Yeah, but definitely some things have gotten way easier, and I believe the future can only get better. Because when I look back at where we started from, now the business environment is very different, and it's very enabling. Yeah.
Because back then, you were very few producers who basically made the Kenyan sound the Kenyan sound. Like you are the guys who literally defined that sound. So
define the Kenyan contemporary pop sound.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah. So it was quite easy for you guys because mlikuanga watu few sana. Nini ndo mlikuanga kusema manzejo?
That is true, but also it was very difficult.
Yeah.
It had its own set of challenges, especially when it comes to distribution, marketing. It was extremely difficult and very expensive.
Very expensive.
Very expensive.
Okay, we'll get to the expensive part in a short while. Let me jump to the lady, Abigail.
Yeah.
What pushed you to writing and for you to actually even produce 2 books?
So what happened was you look at your talents and you figure out how many things you're good at. There were a few. And so you pick the one that you feel like you're most likely to succeed. And I've always been a reader. My mother was a teacher. My father was the guy who's always buying you books.
Right.
And so it kind of seemed natural for me to flow into becoming a writer, Even though it's not really something that many people consider a career, my father still asks me when I'm getting a real job. So that's a fun conversation to have.
He asks you even
He's like, so I saw this master's the other day in agriculture. I'm like, where do you think but I'm a, hi dad. But it was kind of a natural flow for me, even though writing is a lot like music production as well. People think it's something that's extremely simple.
Yeah.
It's the most difficult thing I've ever done.
Actually, I wanted to ask you, you must have been really good at insha and composition writing.
I was great at insha and composition writing.
Yeah.
This is the platform upon which to say it because no one ever asks me.
Yes.
But all those chambe letters, all those things,
People don't consider writing an art.
No.
They don't because they look at it as sulienda shule. ukasoma compo, ukafunzwa English, now you know literature. So, I mean, it's part of your academic, whatever, bringing up. So for you, writing comes naturally because you are good in English and Swahili.
I mean, I guess you could say that. So I've written, I write for a lot of things. I write for whatever pays my rent, basically. But in terms of writing in Swahili and English, I've done a lot of scripts in Swahili and English. And that is not just from being good at English and Swahili. It's also like the art of being able to actually tell a story and depict a message in whatever form of writing you're doing. If it's script writing, if it's academic writing, if it's books, there's a certain thing that you're trying to bring out. And that won't just be brought out by, I was as happy as a lark, as I ran across, you know, it's not as simple as everyone.
So who do you target in your writing? Is there a specific audience you look at, for instance? Are you targeting women? With Akelo, are you targeting the men? Are you, I mean, how do you determine the target audience?
It generally depends on what I'm writing. My poetry is more like it's a diary. It's like I'm targeting myself. Like I'm talking about my own feelings and trying to express that. When I'm writing, because I do columns as well, so when I'm writing columns, I'm writing for someone like me who doesn't really understand what's going on, but is trying to make sense of the world around them and how it relates to themselves.
Okay. All right. Later on, I'll ask you in terms of business-wise, how you manage to now convert that into money, because at the end of the day, I mean, books don't pay rent. It's the money from the books that pays rent.
I beg to differ, but carry on.
All right. You will tell me in a short while. Georgie, people will look at you and think you're crazy, especially with that. But at the end of the day, it's paying bills.
Yeah, sure.
So how did you come to be this M-Pesa lady?
Well, I've had a passion for acting for a long time. I've been a thespian, I've been an actor on
oh yes,
on
there was a show you did, Briefcase, yes. 9
years ago. So it was great. So you never know, it could come back. So I've been in that scene for a very long time. I've had a professional job where I worked at our national air carrier. KQ. I've been
Buda ulikuanga pilot ama
no, sikuwa pilot, hata hostess ingemeka.
Juu hiyo ndege kuna venye ingekuwa inabinda side.
Hiyo ndege ingekuwa tu mimi ndio passenger. No, I was actually a trainer. So I was in HR, then I was made a trainer. I was training on an IT system. Then I got to be an IT consultant in another firm after that. But then it wasn't, at the same time, I called it my side hustle because my main hustle was acting. Even in Campo, I used to, you're told you have to attend 70% of classes.
Yes.
I attended 30%. Because the rest of the time I was going to look for gigs for acting. I was going for auditions, plays, you name it. All forms of auditions I was attending, those auditions. So I've always had this passion of acting. And so I like saying where it all changed is where my dad passed away from cancer in 2011, December. And I remember asking him, because he had just sold a house and I've taken him for a chemo session. And he has this amount of money. And I asked him, hey, what are you going to do with this money? So I said, he was an accountant. So I expected him to say, I'll go invest in whatever. He told me I'm going to DT Dobby and I'm buying myself a brand spanking new Mercedes-Benz. And I'm like, why? And his why is what Liani has carried me through till now. And he was like, I've never done anything that I have enjoyed. I've never enjoyed my money. My job, I didn't really enjoy it. I just did it to get money. I didn't enjoy life. And so at that point, I was like, hey, I have to make a drastic change in my life. I have to start doing the things that I love. And so that's when I decided to go into acting full time.
So KQ was actually your side hustle. Na kuna mse hapa hivi manze KQ ndio main. Ndio main.
Hey, wazee uko ndio unaenda, you're flying around, you're going and training people, but you're not being fulfilled. In terms of your personal desires and needs, you're not being fulfilled. Even purpose, like the reason why you were born. You can feel that, hey, I was not born to do this. Kuna kitu tu pale nafa kufanya mazeka kana miss. And for me, that was in terms of the acting. So I decided to go acting full time in 2012, brokest year of my life.
So you left KQ, got into acting full time?
Yes. So I had left KQ already and I had joined this IT consulting firm.
So you left this white collar job and you got into
and then I just got into the acting full time. Auditions, you go for auditions, as many auditions as possible, you get the role, but the next day you're told, boss, that role was given to someone else, you now come and just become an extra. You know? And it was a very depressing time. So then I decided to find how can I make this acting gig or entertainment, how can I make it a business? And I joined an event agency, and that's where I met. I saw everything and anything that you can be able to do as an entertainer or in creative arts, how you can make it and form it into a business.
We'll still get to the business side of it. And Musyoka, I'll throw this back to you in terms of, he's just said that there's a year that he was really broke because, you know, he had to transition from white collar now to arts. For you, you've been in music production your entire life?
I'm broke throughout.
No.
For him, it was 1 year.
Hey. No, but Musyoka, I've seen the cars you drive, the bikes that you know, on your profile. Musyoka can't be broke.
It depends. It depends. It depends.
Right.
I mean, it's just like he said, it takes time for a business to build. And like what his father's philosophy, actually, that's what I live by. Because also my mom is an accountant, and she has sacrificed a lot for us to get to where we are, and also to have the kind of life that we have.
Yeah.
So for me, I try balancing, at least living my life and doing things that I want to do, and also just trying to make sure that I have enough, you know, for the family and everything.
Yeah.
So, I mean, some years are good, some years are bad, but I mean, prudence and focus is very important, and just so have to learn to live a frugal life. Yeah.
So as Musyoka, the music producer, for you to forget, I mean, Punit, whenever you've done a track for them, they say Musyoka in the track. So obviously that's a brand name and that's a business. So for you to run that business as it is, what are some of the things that you've put in place that other producers are probably not doing? Because we know producers who've come up and disappeared just with the wind, just like that. But Musyoka has been there consistently.
It's not about what myself have done as a producer. It's what the business requires. You know, business principles are the same, whichever industry you are in. A profit is a profit, a loss is a loss. An asset is an asset. It doesn't matter. I think a lot of people don't look at it from that point of view. And for me, I had one of the best mentors in the music business, in the entertainment business.
Who's that?
Mike Rabba. Mike Rabba, Alf Rabba, and John Rabba.
Okay.
It's through them that I learned actually art is a business. You know, if you treat it like a business, it will reward you.
Yes.
So you invest in it, you have strategies for it, you focus for it, and you be disciplined in it. And also just learn to look at opportunities, because the opportunities are always there, but don't let the fame and the hype blind you so that you are not able to see where your life is going, because money is a fool's gold.
Is that so?
Yeah. Oh, yes, it is. And if you work for money, you'll never have enough.
Yeah.
For all these producers, all these artists, aren't they in the business for the money? Yes, they have the time.
And that's where the problem
rap.
is. Because if you chase money, you will never catch money. And you'll never have enough. But if you create value, people will always, money follows value. For me, that's the principle I follow. So if I'm not adding value to anything I'm doing, money is not going to come. But if I chase money for money's sake, nobody has been buried with a checkbook.
True that. Have you ever, like for Kagwe, he started off, you know, in the white collar business, blah, blah, blah. Have you been in any white collar? Ama umekuwa tu msanii 24/7?
The only white collar I've worn is a shirt.
Okay, quite.
Straight into the arts from the day I was born. This is all I've done my entire life. I mean, I have a degree, I have a diploma, I have a few certificates on professional management courses and stuff. But
people think that Musyoka is just a music producer, but Musyoka is more than that, because I remember we worked on a project with you at Disney. It was Doc Mark stuff here. So you're not just into music production, there are other things you do.
It's the entire value chain for entertainment, but in terms of audio. So like our specialty is sound. Anything to do with sound, be it dubbing, casting, recording, producing, scoring.
Events?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right, interesting.
Why has he said no like that?
Penagi stories za kufanya events. So Chris Martin is coming to Kenya, so unafanya utaki hiyo.
No, as we focus on studio work. Studio work, location recording, anything to do with sound in that space.
Okay.
Is our specialty.
You've said us, so that means
the business, the company.
It's a team. All right.
It's a team, We are a team of about 6 guys.
6 guys. Yeah. Abby, in terms of, you said earlier on, books pay, but do books sell in Kenya?
Okay, so this is the problem with how everyone thinks about books in Kenya, right? so I run a bookstore, right? It's called ruganobooks.com. The reason me and my partner at the time started ruganobooks.com is because people think that Kenyans don't read, Kenyans don't buy books, Kenyans are only interested in whatever they're interested in. And that's such a big problem because Kenyans do read. If there's anything that Kenyans on Twitter do, it is read tweets. I mean, it might be different from what you think. Like, it's not traditional, I'm reading a book. But there are books that Kenyans are interested in, right? So when I wrote my first book, I would go around to bookstores and ask them to sell my book. And they would be like, Kenyans don't read, oh, it's poetry, no one reads poetry, which is ironic because if you don't stock poetry, then no one will read poetry. It's like, but this is stupid. Anyway, so as you can see, I'm still bitter. They would give me all these excuses, but there was only one bookstore that agreed to stock my book. So eventually what we decided to do was we're just going to have an online bookstore. And all these people who have the same problem as me, like self-published authors who can't find a traditional bookstore that's going to stock them, we're going to stock them, right? And for me, that has been a very difficult and rewarding journey in terms of diversification of talent. Because you can be a writer, lots of people are writers, lots of people have talent, lots of people can act, but what are you doing with that talent? Because you can't write on that talent alone. You have to think of, for me personally, I don't know about the legends next to me, but you have to kind of diversify your revenue streams because you can't work this hard for 30 years. There has to be a plan in place for you to not have to do this in the same way anymore. So, okay, Sawa, you're a writer. Are you going to start a bookstore? Are you going to start a company that hires out writers? Are you going to go into scriptwriting? Like, there's so many things. Everyone needs a writer. All company brochures, all newspapers, like, everyone needs someone to write something. True. And you have to present yourself as a product in that way.
And then how do you, because, for instance, I'm not into reading at all. Once in a while, I'll read a book or two, and I never get to finish. How do you make sure you reach someone like me who's not into, that reading culture?
There's a book for everyone.
There's a book for everyone.
You just haven't found. They say this about drugs too. That I don't mean that in the same way. But there's a book for everyone. Just because you don't like reading, autobiographies, maybe you like comics. Comics are reading too. Maybe you like short, concise poetry. You just need to find the right book. And I think the Kenyan system of education has also contributed in making people kind of hate
the education system?
Like when you're being tested on, like, when you're doing Swahili Fasihi, you don't even care about the artistry behind this guy who wrote science fiction in Swahili. Walenisi. How, But you're being tested so much and you're cramming so much to pass this exam. It just becomes something you really, really hate, even when the books are actually really good. The River and the Source is one of my favorite books ever. But by the time you're being told to cram passages and create stylistic devices, and what was the author talking about? The author was just talking about a chick who was sad and in love. That's it.
Then you have to come up with themes.
No, like it's not, there's like a beauty in the story that education can sometimes take away from us.
Okay. I want to rope in the audience into this conversation, and I just want to know, what is your attitude towards the arts? What is your attitude towards the arts? Just like we've been told by these three people here, that a lot of our focus is not necessarily on the art as a business. Tunambiangwa art is just nonsense. As in, it will never take you anywhere. How many times are our kids, our friends, been drilled in their heads that you need to focus on mathematics and which is not bad by the maths, physics, chemistry, but what is your attitude now towards the arts? Let us know on our social media pages. That is on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at K24TV. You can also text us on 21222. Call the number on your screen. Would love to hear from you. Kagwe, George, what was your attitude towards the arts growing up?
I'm an extroverted guy, So I loved the outdoors. I loved every time we had art and craft or agriculture and we were going to the farm, I was awesome. I was like, anything not to be in the classroom.
So, did you ever think at any one point it would be paying your bills?
Nope, I didn't. Because it was, like you said, it was drilled down. The first musical I ever did, I was, I think, 7 years old. We had just moved to Mombasa, and the school we were in was huge in just building up the arts. So I got a lead role in a musical where I was playing a tiger. So I'm just in a shot. I've been painted all over like a tiger, and it was at night. It was a whole shebang, lights, camera. Lights and action, no camera. So I remember after that, a lot of parents came to my parents, and they kept on complimenting me.
Wow.
But to my parents, I could see it was, yeah,
sawa, lakini bado mathematics lazima
acting
rudi.
club. Ni sawa tu, lakini bado huyu jamaa lazima pass.
Yes.
Exams aende akuwe either pilot, engineer, you name it.
Right.
So for a very long period of time, I was known as a manga in school because I didn't fit well in the classroom.
Can I just hold that thought for a second?
Yeah.
We have an Otunga on the line. Otunga, good morning.
Yeah, morning.
How are you doing, sir? What is your question or comment?
Yeah, I wanted to address Abigail about writing. I'm a
Yes,
writer,
David.
and I wish to be published. Maybe I don't know how we can connect if it is possible.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I just want to also say that I'm getting a lot about making business out of art, because I'm somebody also I've had a production. I'm into writing and directing, but usually we just do performances sometimes at KNT.
Okay.
But now just having it as a concept of business and doing it seriously as a business
Yes.
is something that has been quite a challenge, and I'm happy with the insight that they are sharing.
All right. Thank you,
Yeah,
David.
Okay, thank you.
Karibu sana. That connection is definitely coming through. We'll let you know how you can get in touch with her and actually them. You already gonna fun. Amesikia venye umeongea juu ya writing in a very rosy way. All right, so you were saying something, Kagwe.
Yeah, so I was a manga in school, so, and most of the time is because I couldn't settle well in class.
Right.
I was an average student. I didn't read much. Sorry, but even a lot of my folks used to be like, hey,
Abigail,
enda usome. You know, if you're watching TV, enda kwa room usome.
Yeah.
So that's how I grew up. But most of the time I was in theatrics. I was in making jokes in class, making fun of teachers or making fun of other people, being cheeky in class and all that. So when I look back is when I realized actually I was a very artsy kind of a guy who was into this entertainment thing. And if I'd really been focused on, even in school, if they really focused on that, then how many of us would have grown up knowing that this can be a business and therefore propel the business forward?
So now you're doing the whole M-Pesa Lady thing. So that is also a form of acting, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you're acting, and what else?
So I'm doing the acting. So what I realized is also I can be able to form entertainment as a bridge for communication and marketing.
Speaking of communication, we have a Joshua on the line. Just a second. Joshua, good morning.
Morning, Bobby.
How are you doing, sir?
I'm fine, thank you. And morning to the panelists.
Salimika.
Now, allow me to say something to our lovely lady.
Yes.
I feel like she's come from. I've worked with the publishing industry for the last 10 years.
Right.
And the area that she's specialized in, which is poetry, happens to be one of the most challenging.
Okay.
In fact, one of the toughest products to market and sell in Kenya is poetry. And I would also want, I think, to be linked with her so that we can see how we can assist each other, since I'm still working in the industry.
All right.
But allow me to comment on the general creative industry in Kenya.
True.
Number one, I will wish to air my disappointment to the industry leaders, because what I've noticed is that I don't know what's with us Kenyans, that at times we don't like getting and recruiting the best. If you look at, for example, what we see in our in the creative industry, especially in comedy, you realize that either by default or by design, we get people who somehow cannot go very far. If you look at our comedy in Kenya, you can almost bet that it might not sell beyond our borders. Yet, there are very many people who are talented and people who have the exposure that if they are nurtured, they can really take this industry to the next level and place the Kenyan industry in the map. So my appeal to the players in the industry is, number one, to spread themselves across the country so that they can tap talent.
Yeah.
At times, trying to reach to these people becomes very difficult. I think there is also an element of ego in them that sometimes when you try to reach to them and see if they can assist you, most of them are not willing to.
Yes.
So to my friend, the M-Pesa lady, quote unquote, a guy I admire a lot, I think these are the people who, when you talk about nurturing talent among the youth,
yes,
they should have these outreach programs across the country and in the county so that they can tap talent and also expose those people who have talents but are not able to really get them in Nairobi.
Thank you,
That's
Joshua.
all I have to say, Bobby.
All right, thank you, Joshua. Okay, He has said some very interesting points there. And can we just go directly into them? For amesema comedy. Comedy, apparently, you guys are not doing enough as the industry leaders in terms of tapping talent. But how true or untrue, and how easy or how hard is it?
Well, I don't think people are not doing anything. If you look at people like Daniel Churchill Dambuki, who started a whole tour all across the county, the Eric Omondis, who are trying also to raise people up, myself. I like saying, there's a saying I had once that the power is not in the push but the positioning. Now, what has happened with the digital platforms have enabled us to be able to reach anyone all around the world. Instantly. So if you look at my DM right now, you have people who come and they're like, I would like to start doing what you're doing. How do I do that? And you give advice and you ask, and you track it with them. Do a video, use your mobile device. It makes you a station where you can be able to create content, distribute content at one instant and communicate with your audience all at once without any red tape, without anyone trying to come in between you and your audience, your direct connection. So I think for me, I would say for a lot of people, it's how you position yourself. I myself, if I went through the traditional forms and traditional methods of trying to become a comedian, which is go for auditions, go to a casting call, agent, go through a production house, try and get that production onto television, I wouldn't be here right now. But what I used is what I had in my hands, which was a mobile device and my connections, in terms of the social connections, and then put out my content. And once I put that content now is when people started seeing me. All right. So even mainstream media took my content and started playing it on their stations. Okay.
Musyoka, he has complained about the leaders of the industry, and you are one of them. Utajitetea ukiwa pande gani? Umesaidia watu?
Okay. Number one, I'm not Jesus, so there's only so much I can do.
Okay.
So, because I mean, I also have limited resources, and you know, I don't have a bottomless pit of resources. So, and it's just an issue of right timing and being at the right place at the right time. So, if we get to bump and it's your turn, it's your turn. Okay. And I try and help as much as I can. I try and invest in artists as much as I can. In fact, my entire business model has been discovering new talent and investing in new talent.
All through?
All through.
Okay. Yeah. All right. We'll talk about that and much more when we come back. Right now, we take a short break. Remember, the question I was asking you is, what is your current attitude towards the art? Do you view it as a business? Ama bado uko stuck in the old school mentality of it's a wastage of time and we need to become accountants and financial managers and, I don't know, actuarial scientists and engineers and doctors? Please let us know in the comment section that is on our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram pages at K24TV. You can also text us on 21222. Call us on the numbers on your screen. We'll be right back.